Hey folks, Matt from artoftheimage.com. Just reading some of the viewer comments back on the Sony a6000 video I did talking about Tony Northrup and Chelsea's results from using the Sony a6000 and the tracking focus and how it differs from what a lot of other people have found online. So we have Reg171 Reg. I respect what Tony and Chelsea have to say, but I've wondered if perhaps they have missed a setting compared to other reviewers. And I wondered that too, as you noticed. I made that comment. I didn't know what their problem was when they were getting those bad results, but I wondered if it was a setting in camera or a lens. Having said that, I own an A7, which I do love, but have never been able to track like Gary does or even come close. He's talking about Gary Fong. The autofocus is very slow, as is my NEX6. I would agree with that. Those cameras, the a6000 was a bit of a revolution in Sony's autofocus. Evolution, a very significant evolution, and it got much better with the a6000, so I would think you would see it better than in the a7 or the NEX6. Let's see here, the Panamanian mic. I have the a6000. I love the DMF mode, but as far as just the regular autofocus, for me, it did not live up to the hype. I would lock it on my 1-year-old son and do continuous snaps of him running around having a blast. The pictures looked all right on my camera, but once it was full blown on my laptop, many of the photos were blurred. I am not a professional, so it could be a user error. And that's possible. You may not have had the shutter speed high enough. You're talking about blurred photos. Blurred photos is different than an out-of-focus photo. If the camera's nailed focus but it's blurred, that's your shutter speed. And that could be you not having a high enough shutter speed in manual, or you're using program mode and letting the camera not choose a high enough shutter speed. So it could be that right there. Let's see here. Christos Serrano Toma. Sorry, Christos, if I messed that up. Sony haters out there, that's all. They are all afraid that the future is mirrorless. By the way, I own the a6000, and for the $500 I spend on it, it beats the crap out of almost every DSLR out there in every possible way. I would tend to pretty much agree with you on that. Maybe not the highest end DSLRs, but it's one of the best packages out there for small, lightweight, cost, and performance. So if you're looking at what it costs and what it offers up, incredible image quality, incredible package in such a tiny camera. Again, $500 in small weight. I could take it with me everywhere all day with an old manual 50 f1.4, and I'm a winner. Pretty good point, especially if you're going to use manual focus lenses, which is very easy to do on the a6000 and most of the Sony bodies with that incredible focus peaking feature they have, and it allows you to do manual focus very easily. Let's see here. What else do we have? Karen Kowalski. I've owned the a6000 for 8 months and used it extensively. I've had very good results with AF in many settings. In my experience, it is a very good camera overall. And that pretty much matches what Chris Nichols and Gary Fong and them are saying, in contrast to what Tony and Chelsea were saying. Let's see here. Elay12. I own an a6000, and Chris and TNC are both right. The Northrups did the test where subject was coming toward the camera, whereas Chris did a side-to-side track. I've gotten the same results with both instances. All are correct except sellout Fong. Okay, so Elay12 does not like Gary Fong. I could see that being part of the difference in the testing. Coming towards the camera is an entirely different test than if you're standing watching somebody move by this way. And maybe that was the entire difference in the results of the test. Let's see, Phoenix Glade. I'm a Sony mirrorless shooter, 4 cameras, a 5N, an A3000, an A7, and an A7 II. Wow, nice gallery, nice stable of cameras there, and I can attest that FE mount cameras have very inconsistent autofocus. In anything less than excellent daylight, AF gets very confused. At shorter ranges, AF gets super confused. I did street portraiture with the 16 to 35, and not one shot focused on the eye, always behind or in front. The 55 has the same problem, but compounded by the smaller depth of field. I'd like to point out here, Phoenix, none of your cameras are even claimed by Sony to have that newer autofocus system. Maybe the A7 II, I'd have to double check that. But I think the A6000, believe it or not, even being a cheaper camera than the full frame ones, has the more advanced autofocus. So I don't think that's necessarily an apples to apples comparison. Interesting comments, and it's interesting to hear that as a Sony shooter, but I'm not sure that that applies to the A6000. Let's see here. Tamas Varga. In general, they like the A6000's AF. The tracking test they did was with the kit lens, and C was running straight towards the camera, which is different to what the camera store did side to side, which we had just noted, and that may be a large part of it. Generally, they had a very balanced review of the A6000. It seems they pissed you with something as you're making a Tony, Northrup, and Chelsea wrong series. No, I'm not making a Tony and Chelsea. I saw a few other videos, and I just had some, the ISO and the aperture videos in relation to crop factor I disagreed with. So I just made a video with stating what I thought was the correct interpretation. And I just found it interesting with their results with the A6000. I like Tony and Chelsea's videos. They did very high production quality. They've got very decent videos. I just disagree with them on a couple things, and that's the beauty of debate. If you disagree, you could talk about it, put it out there, come to a consensus, and you're always going to have people that agree or people that disagree. So anyways, those are some of the latest comments on the Sony a6000 autofocus video I did, and the fact that Tony and Chelsea seem to have very different results than, say, Chris Nichols or what Gary Fong's results have been. And some good points with the fact that they were looking at a subject coming towards camera, whereas, for instance, Chris Nichols was testing a motorcycle going from side to side, left to right, or right to left in front of him. So that may have been a large part of it. What do you guys think? Feel free to continue with the comments. Sony a6000. I think it's an amazing camera. I think it has incredible autofocus and just an incredible package overall. It could be the best value in a camera out there right now. So anyways, leave some comments. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back soon here at artoftheimage.com. Thanks.